meet the winner of Vernon. International fighters getting it on. It's Sperry versus Vernon White.
Well, these two, Michael, they're supreme technicians. We're in for a great display of grappling in this bout.
Sperry moving in early, tying up Vernon, takes him down to the ground, assumes the mount position.
Off the right.
These are two of the most experienced ground fighters you'll find anywhere in the world.
Off the right, pull him off the right.
Mario Sperry is a man who can make his opponent submit in any number of ways. And Vernon White, well, technically, he's just brilliant.
You see that Super Mario has opted for the Bruce Lee style mitts, whereas Vernon, on the other hand, has opted for the bare fist. He figures that they're going to have a lot more impact. Mario, on the other hand, is going to try and conserve his hands with those mitts, especially when they're going for the headshots.
And we can hear plenty of instruction being yelled at Vernon White by his cornerman, Frank Shamrock. And there's the aggressor meter, pretty even so far. Mario Sperry, the slightly more aggressive in the blue corner.
Sperry to date has the slight advantage. He's keeping control there and just leaning on Vernon. And basically, he's not going to do anything silly. He's going to pace himself, and he's going to make Vernon work for this.
Sperry trying to hook that left arm around the neck of Vernon White, leaning his shoulder into the esophagus area. Now comes pummeling with the right hand on Vernon, who's forced to cover up. Vernon wouldn't want to take one too many of those right hands. They'll put the lights out on you for sure. And there's that wear down tactic again by Mario Sperry, just leaning that right shoulder into the throat area of Vernon White.
Headbutts, of course, are allowed in this style of fighting, so you can expect to see some of them firing out when they're coming in at close quarters. That's why the fighter on the bottom will often... Oh, there he goes. It's very going to work. As I was saying, you can see when their heads are together, they're going to try and make sure that he's not going to give any fighter the advantage to let any headbutts fly.
Well, there's the big punches coming again from Mario Sperry, and often in these cage combat championship style events, the punch is not used as a knockout technique, but more to gain a superior position on your opponent, and that's what Mario Sperry is trying to do. He's got Vernon White tied up like a pretzel at the moment. Look at that, Mark the Hammer.
He certainly has, Michael. Vernon is putting up a great display today. Mario is a very experienced campaigner with 270-odd fights and only one loss, and that was very, very early in his career. So you can bet that this man is going to be very much on his game tonight, and there's going to be not too many mistakes made from his side.
Mario tying up the arms of Vernon White, the aggressor meter showing that Mario Sperry looking in control of this contest at the moment. Trying to get the scissor lock around the neck of Sperry, but Sperry's out of trouble and straight back onto Vernon White.
Don't let him control your chin.
There's the ref cam, as seen by referee Cameron Quinn doing a fine job. There's Frank Shamrock, cage side, shouting plenty of instructions at his man, Vernon White. Oh, shakes Sperry off his back. Well done by Vernon White.
The fight has turned.
White trying to move inside the guard of Sperry.
Vernon going for that leg again. Keeps him away with that push kick to the chest. Mario in on him now.
Mario Sperry is one slippery customer, I tell you what. And Vernon White, well, so far he's had more escapes than Houdini, and doing a fantastic job of staying out of trouble. We should also mention, Mark the Hammer, that Vernon White, a former Taekwondo stylist, came to the ring wearing a gi, but he took that gi off to go into this fight against Mario Sperry. Why was that?
That's certainly a trend that has evolved in this type of fighting, Michael. Early on in this style of fighting, everyone used to fight in their traditional uniforms, but some of the fighters found that it was giving the Gracie-style fighting a distinct advantage because they were using those uniforms for chokeholds and the like. The fighters these days have opted more for the lycra and the bare chest because there's nothing there for them to grab onto.
And a front chokehold being applied there by Vernon White, who's got him against the cage. And referee Cameron Quinn moving in to break up the contest. The bell has gone. That is the end of the round. Mario Sperry doesn't want to break this hold. Of course, in Brazil, the no-rules Vale Tudo fighting, they don't have time limits. They just keep going until one guy submits. And Mario Sperry, well, Mario, you're in Australia. You have to break. Here, we've got time limits.
Mario doesn't want to break. He's used to fighting without a time limit. And obviously he's deep in concentration there. His corner's yelling to him now in Brazilian that it is time, and he's been warned that he has to follow the referee's ruling on that.
And we take a look at the aggressor meter, showing that Mario Sperry being the aggressor in the first round of action against Vernon White. What a fantastic first round, technically brilliant by both men, Mark the Hammer.
That's correct, Michael. Here you see Mario letting a few good right hands go in there on Vernon. That's certainly going to pile up the points for him on the judges' scorecard if this fight goes the distance. Mario, I'd say, by this first round, certainly had more control, and the advantage would definitely be his way, as reflected by the meter.
If you look at it, Mark, it really is a chess game down there on the floor. Everyone tries to put the opponent in a certain lock. There's an escape to that. There's a counter strategy. We can see Vernon White here taking a bit of punishment to the back of the head with those right hands from Mario Sperry.
Well,
but eventually he gets his way out of it.
That's right. The punches, as you quoted earlier, the punches are used to create an opening for the grapple.
And there's the shake-off again by Vernon White, and he immediately moves straight back in and goes on the attack. It's pound for pound, counter for counter. We're ready to rumble. Here we go in the second round of action. Both men just tentative, just waiting for the moment to see an opportunity to move in, to make their shoot and take one another down to the ground.
A shoot, of course, is when one grappler actually shoots himself in, grabs the legs or the waist of the other, and takes him to ground, as you've just seen Mario apply there. See more of the stand-up type of fighting that they've seen in the bodycut and sweep fight. But I'll tell you something, this style of grappling, this style of fighting really takes it out of you.
Mark the Hammer, can I ask you a question? I mean, in your illustrious career as an Australian champion kickboxer and point fighter and karate fighter, did you ever want to step into the octagon? Did you ever want to step in and fight no holds barred for $25,000?
Michael, for $25,000, I'll fight naked on top of a rock in the middle of the desert.
A simple yes would have been enough, Mark, but thank you anyway. As we see Mario Sperry, a beautiful spin out there. Vernon had a hold of his leg. He spun out quite amazingly. Beautiful technique it was there by Sperry, and he is the aggressor again in this second round, but not by too much, according to our aggressor meter.
We see Mario, he has Vernon in a head-arm choke here. He's got that arm tied up, and he's got that neck really tied up well, and you can be betting that Vernon will be gasping for air, having a lot of trouble breathing. He's doing well to survive this.
Vernon has that arm, trying to tuck it in there. Sperry leaning his full body weight with the shoulder off the esophagus of Vernon White.
This is a technique, of course, that in the first fight, Neil Bodycott used to finish off Simon Sweet, a very similar hold. And Vernon, as I said, is doing great to survive this. He's just relaxed. He's a very relaxed fighter. He's conserving his energy. He's not doing anything that he doesn't have to.
It's interesting to note while we're on the ground that the ground fighters, such as we're seeing at the moment, have won most of the UFC matches and reality fighting matches overseas. 45% of all those matches have been won on the ground. Only 22% in joint locks, and only 33% have ended as a result of striking. And there's a leg bar applied by Vernon White, but Mario, slippery as ever, escapes from it again, dragging Vernon across the canvas, trying to get out of the leg bar, and applies what looks to be, well, he's probably going for a front choke block down there on the canvas, but he's got one arm actually hooked under the chest of Vernon White, and now shifts across to the side.
I'll tell you what, Michael, a lesser fighter with some of these moves that Vernon's been trying, they may have given the fight away. With Mario, his experience is really coming through. He's playing his cards very close to his chest, and he's not letting anything go to chance. He's keeping a cool head, and he's just getting out of these locks as he has to.
Walk around with it.
We should also point out that what you're seeing tonight is Ultimate Fighting. That is the style of fighting, but what we're seeing is Cage Combat Championship 1 here in Australia. It is vastly different from the American Ultimate Fighting Championship. There are more rules in place to ensure that fights are fought purely on martial arts skill. And while the promoters of tonight's event have put on a real entertainment spectacle outside the octagon, once the fighters step in, it's down to no-nonsense martial arts action at its very best. And what we're seeing is a fine ground fight at the moment in which Mario Sperry is the aggressor against Vernon White. And the crowd of 5,000, well, they're captivated because what we're seeing is a game of strategy. It's a game of chess, and it's a war on the floor, Mark the Hammer. It's a war of technique.
It takes a lot to appreciate what these guys are doing in here. People are used to seeing the boxing, they're used to seeing the kickboxing.